Hi, how's it going out there? I woke up this morning to a great idea. We're going to go ahead and plan a trip. So let's go ahead and get bundled up and we'll go out to the boat and we'll fire up our chart plotter and we'll go get some waypoints for a new lake. So, ready? All right, let's go. All right, guys. Or we can take a look at these new lakes on Google Earth Pro and our Active Captain app and go ahead and put them on our SD card and be ready to go fishing next time. I don't know about you guys, but it's a whole lot warmer in here. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to use Google Earth Pro and export the waypoints, routes, and tracks and put them in your chart plotter. All right, so let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so first off, don't run off on me now. I just thought it'd be a good idea to go over what GPS is really quick so you got a little bit of an understanding of it. In other videos, I've talked about in the units, it gives you position. And the position has different formats in which the GPS location is expressed. So here's a few of the formats, and it's definitely not all of them. And in some places of the world, they got what's called grids. So familiarize yourself with the units. All right, so GPS is made up of 24 or more satellites that orbit the Earth twice a day, and they're in different orbits or, different distances to the Earth. And they provide continuous coverage. So for your GPS device to work and locate you on GPS, it normally needs to see a minimum of 4 satellites, and it bounces the distance back and forth, and then it uses geometry to pinpoint your exact location in 3D. Because yes, it can tell you what elevation you're at as well as where you're at on a flat map. So it is in 3D. And this technology is really getting sophisticated now. I know we've got a lot of big farms and ranches around here, and they've got tractors that they punch in the outline of where they're going to plow or cut or whatever they're doing, and they could basically just take a nap because it'll run back and forth in the rows. They tell it what distance they want, and it just goes back and forth. So the technology for GPS is amazing, and as we're seeing, in the chart plotter industry, the same way. So we're going to go ahead and use Google Earth Pro, and that is important. Google Earth itself will give you the images, but Google Earth Pro will let you go back in time so you can see when the water levels were down, and it also gives you a lot of options for marking those waypoints. So let's go ahead and get into it, and I'll show you how to maneuver around in Google Earth Pro. First thing I like to do is familiarize myself with the lake by downloading a map. And that gives me all the names of the creek arms and things like that. So this is Lake Allen Henry, and that is Little Grape Creek, and that's Grape Creek. Let's go ahead and open up Google Earth Pro. So let's go ahead and look for Lake Allen Henry. And we'll type it up here in the search bar. There it is. I always think this is cool when it zooms in like that. I like that. And there it is. So let's go ahead and find the marina. I always like to mark where the marina is on a new lake because you never know when you're going to struggle getting back to it. And we'll go ahead and create a couple of routes just so if I do get lost in one of these creek arms or can't figure out where I am, I know I got a route back. All right, so up top we have different function buttons. We got add place mark, add polygon if you wanted to map out a lake, add a path, which we'll use for routes, add an image overlay, record a tour, And this we'll use a lot, this historical imagery, and you'll see that in a minute. And you show the sunlight, switch between sky and earth, show the ruler, and you can set up your different distances, email an image, print an image, save an image, or view in Google Earth Maps, or view on the web. So anyway, if you look down here in My Places, we can add a place. Let's go ahead and add a folder, and we'll call it Lake Allen Henry. And now if you look, it added it down there in My Places. So let's go ahead and add a place, or add a waypoint. Like I say, I like to start by adding one at the ramp so I know how to get back. And I'm going to set that out just a little bit, because if I'm coming in at dark, I want to make sure I get shut down. Of course, on this lake, it wouldn't be a problem, but I want to make sure I get shut down before I get into trouble. Because you know how it is when you're tired. All right, so we got that waypoint set. Now let's go ahead and look around down at Little Grape Creek. We'll go ahead and find something interesting, and we'll set another waypoint. And then we'll build a route to it. Yeah, that looks interesting. Zoom in on that and see what we can find. Okay, this is where the historical imagery comes in. So we can go ahead right now. We're looking at 1/20/22. So let's go back to 2012 and 2008, and that's a really blurry picture. So let's go to 2012, and we'll pick something offshore just a little bit. And now don't set it at the end of the pin. There's crosshairs there. Set it in the middle of the crosshairs. And we'll go ahead and name it. And we'll call it LGC for Little Grape Creek. All right, now you can see it added it down there under the Lake Allen Henry folder because we had that highlighted. Now let's go ahead and go over to Grape Creek and find another spot. Ah, look at that point. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and add that place mark right there where you can just barely see it. There's some brush or something under there. And if we go back to the 2017, you can see you can't even see it. So we'll give that a try. Go back to 2012. There it is. All right, so let's give that a name. We'll call this GC Brush. All right. So we'll go back and look at this in the 2017, and you can't see anything. So I think that'll work out pretty good. And you know what? I forgot to put the C on the end of this. Let's go ahead and add that in, and a space. And you'll find out later that you can't use a long definition for your waypoints. Active Captain won't let you put in but 10 characters. All right, so let's go ahead now and build a route. Or actually, what we're going to build a track, and then we've got to convert it into a route. All right, so let's go up here to Add Path, and we'll move it back to 2012 because I want to see anything in the water that I may run into. So we'll start here at the ramp. And you can move these points around. So just because you click doesn't mean you can't move it. You can always adjust them. Now try not to put in any more turns and twists than you need to, because it'll look cluttered up on your screen. So, and you'll get a chance when we go into Active Captain, you'll get a chance to adjust these. And you'll always want to take a really good look in Active Captain or on your map at the depths to make sure that you're not running into a shallow area, because this doesn't tell you actually how deep it is. What you're doing here, you're kind of getting an aerial view to make sure you don't run into any trees or points, islands, things like that. So depending on the lake that you're building the track on, you got to be careful. And with anything else, you want to make sure that the first time you follow this route or this track, that you're going fairly slow. If if the visibility's down, if you're doing this, if you're taking off first thing in the morning and you've never traveled this path, this is a guide, so you got to be on your toes. Now, as far as the waypoints, the accuracy on Google Maps is not pinpoint. So when you mark something and you transfer it over to a waypoint onto your Garmin unit, you may have to hunt around for it a little bit, because it's not going to be within inches. It's going to be within yards. Okay, so there's our first track. Now let's go ahead and build the second one. And we'll build it over to Grape Creek. So what we're going to do, we're just going to follow the original path that we were on. And then we're going to take off up here towards the dam. And for those of you who haven't traveled in a boat at night, that is the main reason that I upgraded from a Garmin Striker to an Eco Map. Was I went out a couple times on new bodies of water and took off first thing in the morning, and it's an eerie feeling out on the water if you don't have a map. Now, obviously, if you traveled during the day, you would have a track that you could save on your Eco Map. But here, we're starting from scratch. We have no information on this lake. All right, so we're going to stretch it out. That little white dot to the right there is a boat traveling along. So you don't have to worry about that. I doubt that boat will be there the day that you're on the lake. Shoot, that might have been my buddy. I know he's always talking about fishing up in Grape Creek. He took me up in there one day, and we caught the heck out of spotted bass. And I didn't save any of my tracks when I was on the lake. I cleared them all off. I didn't save any, so I actually do need to do this for myself. And again, you can see that, you can grab any one of those points and adjust them if you feel like you're getting too close or you want to move it around, just like that. I'm going to stop well before I get to that island. I don't want to get myself in any trouble if I take off first thing in the morning and it's still pretty dark. And you always got fog, which I'm leery in fog of other boats also. All right, so there we go. We got 3 waypoints and 2 routes. You can see them over there on the left-hand side underneath Lake Allen Henry. And we'll go ahead and go back to the latest image, which was 2017. Make sure the lake didn't move. Now we're going to save as, and we're going to put it in what I got a folder says Google Earth Pro coordinates. We're going to save it as Lake Allen Henry, and we're going to save it as a KML. A KMZ is a zip file. So we'll save this as a KML. All right, so let's go ahead and open up our File Explorer and go into that Google Earth Pro coordinates. All right, now to put it in your Active Captain app, it needs to be a GPX file. I'm not gonna say which converter to use. There's several of them out there. This one I've had good luck with, but do it how you want to. You don't have to download it. You can just do these without downloading anything on your computer other than the file when it's done. So pick it and then just download it back onto your PC. Now, if I didn't mention it before, Google Earth Pro has to be on a PC. You can't download it on your smartphone. You can only download Google Earth. You can't get the Google Earth Pro version. And there's our file in downloads. So we'll go ahead and move it over into our Google Earth Pro coordinates. All right, so sorry these images aren't the greatest, but it's awful cold out here, so we're going to go fast. Okay, first thing, let's pull our Active Captain card out, set it off to the side, and of course we get a warning. And we'll go ahead, I built this test database on Lake Allen Henry, so we'll go ahead and slip this card in here. And from there, see, it automatically pulls it up. Memory card 1, and there's our GPX file that we made, the test file. So basically, we're just going to manage user data. Now we got ADM checked up here, see that? If you go through Garmin Express or Garmin Homeport or any of those programs, those come over as an ADM. Switch that over to GPX. Merge from card, select file, and there it is. There's our test document. All right, and it says it's 100%. So let's go see what we got. Go home, fishing chart, menu, waypoints and tracks, save tracks. So here we got our AAA test path, which is what we downloaded. You can see I just put 3 points there. So everything downloaded. Go back. All right, and there's our 3. We just named them AAA tests, test 1, 2, and 3. So I still think this is the easiest way to do it, is to go ahead and just convert it to a GPX file, put it on an SD card. Now Garmin does recommend you use a separate SD card and not put it on your Active Captain card. I did it both ways, it seemed to work. So I don't know as I'd be afraid to do that, but remember, 32 gigabyte or less card, anything larger than a 32 gigabyte, it has a different format and the chart plotter will not recognize it. I tried it, it won't do it. So it's got to be 32 gigabyte or less. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and email a file of this to ourselves or to myself. This is the way I prefer to do it. And then I'll just grab it inside my phone and put it over into Active Captain. All right, now I'll go ahead and go to my email, and it works pretty slick on an iPhone. You pull it up and there's your Active Captain right there. And once you click on it, it downloads it right in there. Importing user data. Do you want to import the GPX file? So I don't know how it is on Android devices, but on an iPhone, this is really easy. So there it is. We got 3 tracks. Go ahead and click on that one. Now you can see it's a track right now. So we can go ahead and save that as a route, and then it'll put all the turns in there for us. See, it's a track, and you can leave it as a track if you like. You just got to pay attention. The route sometimes is a little nicer during low visibility because it lets you know when you're going to make the next turn. Otherwise, you got to kind of stick with it. Not hard to follow by any means, but okay. So you can see there, it's got all the turns marked, and we'll go ahead and name this new route that we're going to build. And now with the route, you get 15 characters. You can see over there on the right-hand side as I type, it's going 8, 10 characters out of 15. So you got a few more characters for the name of a route than you do a waypoint. A waypoint only gives you 10 characters. As you're going through this, you want to pay attention to the depths on the map and kind of trace it out. Like I said before, make sure you're not getting into any shallow water or anything that's going to get you in trouble. And you don't need to use that icon that's on the screen right now. I'm just playing around. There we go. It's gone. But you can see I'm staying in the deeper part of the lake. And there's our GC brush. So let's go ahead and put an icon on that. When you convert them over, they're just going to show as a dot. So you got to do some filtering to put the icons in them and things like that. And as you can see, I use the search tool to find it because I've got almost 500 waypoints. So we're going to rename this a little bit because I want it to be AH, Allen Henry, because a year from now, I won't remember that I named it Grape Creek. And I'm going to go ahead and type this out, and you see you just can't get much in 10 characters, so I've got to do some more abbreviating. Okay, there we go. That should work. Now let's go ahead and change that symbol out. And I know it probably drives you guys crazy that I use a reef for a brush file, but I just like that icon. It sticks out for me when I look at it on the screen. All right, so let's go over some advantages and some disadvantages to using these two methods. Both of them require that you get an external web-based software and convert the KML file to a GPX file. The app data transfer requires that you have Active Captain on your phone or your mobile device. You can use a tablet as well, and a lot of people do that rather than using their phone. Okay, and with the SD card transfer, you need to go out and get another SD card, 32 gigabytes or less. Remember, that's important. And Garmin does recommend that you not put it on your Active Captain card. Like I say, I did. It didn't seem to affect it, but for some reason they told me over the phone that they'd rather we didn't do that. So the SD card transfer is much faster, and you can use it right away. So that's one of the big advantages. Whereas the app data transfer method, you have to put it on your phone. Of course, when you get it on your phone, you can customize your waypoints and routes. But then you have to use the Wi-Fi to download those onto your sonar unit. And that is actually much slower than it is just going ahead and transferring it with the SD card. They both just save as a track. If you want routes, you have to convert it to a route either on your smartphone or tablet or your sonar unit. Now, when you use the SD card method, you're not going to have any icons other than the little dot, and it just says DOT dot, which you can search for in your unit and find them pretty easily, but then you've got to manually change those icons on your unit on your boat. Whereas the app data transfer method, you can go ahead in the comfort of your home sitting in your chair and you can customize all those before you actually put them into your unit. So that is an advantage to using the app, is you can get them customized and ready to go before you ever download them into your unit. Now, one of the big advantages, I think anyway, to using the app is you can go through your routes and tracks and put it on there, and you can look and make sure that you're not running into any shallow areas from your contour map. And that's a big advantage, because when you do it with the SD card, then you have to, while you're sitting in your boat, you have to kind of go through it and make sure that you're not running into any shallow areas. Remember, your map on your 93 SV or other Garmin unit is not real time. You cannot set an offset unless you have the Ultra maps. And so for you guys with the Ultra series, you should be able to set an offset, which basically all you're doing is you're looking at your graph and it says it's 32 foot deep, and your contour map over here says that it's 42 foot deep. You can put a 10-foot offset in there, and then the contour map will be the right depth. But your regular maps that come with the Eco Map series, you can't do that. You can't put an offset in them. You can put an offset on quick draw contours. If you make your own maps with quick draw for you guys using the Striker series, you can put an offset in there to make up for fluctuations in the lake going up and down. Now with the SD card transfer, you transfer onto your unit and that's where it stays. There's nothing that automatically loads it up on your phone or up on the Active Captain app. If you notice, when you pull your Active Captain app up, all of your waypoints come on that app when you open it up. So these waypoints that you transfer with the SD card, until you synchronize your unit and your Active Captain app again, those waypoints aren't going to show up on your phone or tablet. Now, one of the biggest advantages to the SD card transfer is that you can use it immediately. Other than changing the icons, you can build your waypoints and routes the night before you go to a new lake, plug them in that morning on the water, and you're ready to go. So you don't have to sync anything or anything like that. The other advantage is if you're going on your buddy's boat and he has Garmin units, or if your buddy has a different unit that will transfer the KML file, you can load the KML file and the GPX file on that card, plug it into his unit, and see if he can take your waypoints that you built the night before or the week before and put them on his graph, so you've got it on any boat that you're on. Now, obviously, not all graphs are capable of doing that. For instance, a Striker series, you cannot use an SD card. They don't have a slot for it. That's got to be done over Wi-Fi. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And here's a playlist up here with a bunch of videos that'll help you out immensely with Garmin units. And there's some other waypoint transfer information on there as well. So guys, until next time, keep your lines tight, and we'll see you on the next one.